First reading tonight is from the Gospel of Luke. It's chapter 14, verses 15 through 24, and I'll be reading tonight out of the CEB Common English version. When one of the dinner guests heard Jesus' remarks, he said to Jesus, "Happy are those who will feast in God's kingdom." Jesus replied, "A certain man hosted a large dinner and invited many people. When it was time for the dinner to begin, he sent his servant to tell the invited guests, 'Come, the dinner is now ready.' One by one, they all began to make excuses. The first one told him, 'I bought a farm and must go and see to it. Please excuse me.' Another said, 'I bought 5 teams of oxen and I'm going to check on them. Please excuse me.' Another said, 'I just got married, so I can't come.' When he returned, the servant reported these excuses to his master. The master of the house became angry and said to his servant, 'Go quickly to the city streets, the busy ones and the side streets, and bring the poor, crippled, blind, and the lame.' The servant said, 'Master, your instructions have been followed, and there is still room.' The master said to the servant, 'Go to the highways and back alleys and urge people to come in, so that my house will be filled. I tell you, not one of those who were invited will taste my dinner.'" Our next reading tonight comes from the Gospel of Matthew. It's chapter 11, verses 28 and 29. "Come to me, all you who are struggling hard and carrying heavy loads, and I will give you rest. Put on my yoke and learn from me. I'm gentle and humble, and you will find rest for yourselves in me."
Our third reading is from the book of Revelation, chapter 21, verses 1 through 7. "Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and there was no longer any sea. I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride, beautifully dressed for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, 'Now the dwelling of God is with men, and he will live with them. They will be his people, and God himself will be with them and be their God. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death, or mourning, or crying, or pain, for the old order of things has passed away.' He who has seated on the throne said, 'I am making everything new.' Then he said, 'Write this down, for these words are trustworthy and true.' He said to me, 'It is done. I am the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. To him who is thirsty, I will give to drink without cost from the spring of the water of life. He who overcomes will inherit all this, and I will be his God, and he will be my son.'" The word of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God. Amen. Cliff, you're going to play the song now?
I'm sorry?
You're doing that song now?
No.
No? Okay. Like I said at the beginning of the service, this isn't really an opportunity that I feel is a preachable one. So there is no sermon tonight. But what there is, and what is very genuine and what is very real, is, the pain that we carry, the worry, the loss. All of those things are our story, and they are valid and they are real. And, there's a perception that we're not worthy to come to the cross when we're in that kind of mood. So for some reason we feel that, we're not presentable. When you come to church, right, we put on our best clothes. I'm wearing a suit tonight. We want to look our best. And we tend to do that with our souls as well. We don't feel that we can come to Christ unless we're in order, unless we're all together. But the fact of the matter is that's upside down. That couldn't be further from the truth. There's never more of a time to be presentable to Christ than when you're hurting, when you're in pain, when you're in doubting, like the song says, Lord, help my unbelief, right? Those are the times when it is most appropriate to come to Christ. So you all have stories. You all have reasons that you're here tonight. And, I lost somebody dear to me in November, and I'm going to light a candle for him later on. Diane's parents, their health is really declining right before our eyes, and we're going to light a candle for them too, because it might be their last Christmas, and it's painful. It's painful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read you a story, and this is titled When Christmas Hurts. When Christmas Hurts, it's written by Stephanie Carey, because this was her story, and this was one of her blue Christmases and how she overcame it. And I'm hoping that it will speak to one or all of you. So the words rang in my ears long after my patient walked out the door. Every Christmas is good. My mind flew back to Christmas last year and filled with painful, dark images. My house, cold and empty, no tree, no lights, and 4 little children who clung to me, confused, unable to understand why their world had fallen apart. I couldn't understand it either. Christmas didn't feel good at all. Exactly 4 months before Christmas, my husband was arrested for his relationship with a student. By the time Christmas rolled around, my children and I were struggling. I was in the middle of a divorce. My children were in the middle of trying to figure out why Daddy left and never came back. I hurt. They hurt. Every part of me felt bruised and broken. My children worried that I would leave them too, and I poured all my energy into making them feel loved and secure. I worked nights as an ER nurse and days as a mommy. Homework, laundry, dishes, the school Christmas program. I dragged my 4 kids with me everywhere. I was determined to keep their lives as normal as possible, but inside, my heart didn't feel the joy of a holiday season. When your life is falling to pieces, Christmas can be horrible in a desperate time. I drove an hour and a half to my parents' house every weekend. I wanted to escape the sadness of my home. I had loved my house. I wanted to grow old in it. I had built my dreams around it, and they were all shattered. I couldn't wait every weekend to run from its memories. One weekend in December, when we were visiting my parents, they put up their Christmas tree. I sat on the couch and watched as my children scampered around, getting tangled up in lights, giggling over the ornaments. A fire roared and a music played. Everything looked as pretty as a Christmas card. But I didn't feel it. Christmas had always been my favorite holiday. Some years I started listening to Christmas music in July, loving the anticipation of the most wonderful time of the year. I loved the lights, the candles, the carols, the warmth, the feeling that everything was all right with the world. But as I watched my family gather around the tree, I couldn't find the energy to place a single ornament. You never feel so lonely as when surrounded by people who love you, but can never understand what you're going through because they can't walk your road with you. Walking alone hurts. I'm actually going to read that a second time. You never feel so lonely as when surrounded by people who love you, but can never understand that you're going through because they can't walk your road with you. And walking alone hurts. You don't have to walk alone. Your heart may be broken. You may feel absolutely gutted and at the end of yourself. But Jesus came to the earth so that you would never have to walk alone. He was born as a baby, but he didn't stay a baby. The manger couldn't keep him. The cross could not defeat him. The grave couldn't hold him. And he was born for you. And he died for you. But this holiday season, remember that he lives for you. He walks every road you'll ever walk. He knows every dark path, understands every painful step. There is no valley so deep that he won't enter it with you. No pain so overwhelming that he won't share it with you. He loves you just as you are. The true miracle of Christmas is that he chose to come to you. He chose to share in your grief, to walk in your shoes, to be born into your world. You are the one that he came for. Your road is the road he chooses to walk, and you are not alone. This Christmas is different for my children and me. We have a pretty tree covered in lights. There's a fire in the fireplace, and I've been playing Christmas music for months. But my heart isn't joyful because it's Christmas. My heart is joyful because Jesus fills it. He never left me, not once, no matter how painful the journey or how often I wondered if he had abandoned me. He never did. From the distance of a year, as I gather around the tree with my family, I can see the truth. He always walked beside me, and I know he always will. Every Christmas is a good Christmas because Jesus lives. Isn't that a wonderful story? I can't imagine that woman's pain when she found out her husband's arrested for such a thing, and then the worry that would follow. But what did she do? She turned to Christ. She turned to Christ. And that's what I encourage each and every one of you to do in your pain, your anguish, or whatever has brought you here this night. Turn to Christ. December 21st is the darkest day of the year in our hemisphere. And anybody know why Christmas is chosen for December 25th? Go ahead, Kelly. It's the darkest and shortest day of the year. In some hemispheres of the world it is. Around us it's the 21st. But the reason it was chosen as December 25th, the early Christian church did not even celebrate Christmas. They didn't celebrate the birth of Christ at all. It was about the year 200 or 300, depending on what source you go to. And it was in the Roman Empire, and there was a pagan festival supporting the darkness, or celebrating the darkness of the winter solstice. And the Christians of the time figured, what a great time to establish the birthday of Christ, because every day after that, you have a little bit more light, a little bit more light. And that's what our service will be tonight. We're going to light the candles. We're going to light candles for loved ones, and whatever our heart is breaking, with the faith and hope that we'll have a little bit more light every day as we go forth from this darkest day of the year.